In this week's video, I'm going to change and calibrate a PX-5 turbo actuator in situ. To start, the customer's concern was his mill light stayed illuminated while driving, and sometimes on startup he experienced various warning lights on the dip. You might want to pause this if you want the full explanation of the malfunction indicator lamp. With one of the customer's concerns identified, which was the mill light constantly illuminated while driving, we can now move on and get the Davy plugged in to check what diagnostic trouble code we have today. With vehicle check done on Davy, you can see that the engine ECU has stored faults, but no active faults unfortunately. In the engine ECU, it displays internal faults with the VTG actuator and CAN timeouts. If you're going to check the actuator, here's the required technical data, but remember, the fault would need to be active, not stored, for you to diagnose this. So I'm going to throw caution to the wind and use a bit of experience and change the VTG actuator due to the amount of error occurrences with the internal faults on the actuator. I'm removing the downpipe elbow, but I'm not taking the turbo off this time. I'm leaving the bracket on the turbo and attempting to get the 3 bolts holding the VTG actuator off from behind the turbo. As you can see, this is the back of the VTG actuator bracket, and the 3 bolts I'm going to be removing are here, here and here. I've removed the VTG actuator arm bolt also on this PX-5, as the actuator isn't directly mounted to the turbo like a PX-7 or the MX-11 and the 13, which means this is not the quickest of jobs. So this is our new actuator, which comes with a handy bag of new seals and bolts. I'm just going to get a bolt in to hold the actuator onto the bracket, and we can get these old coolant pipe seals changed and back on with the calibration and fitment of the VTG actuator. If you haven't done this already, could you please hit the like button, as this not only tells me, but YouTube, it's a good video and more people should be watching it. And if you haven't done so, why not subscribe for more content from me? These new bolts that came with the actuator went in nice and free, but you just can't beat putting bolts in blind. I left the VTG actuator arm off till last for accessibility here. This hole here is for the calibration procedure, so using Davy or gel test or whatever you have, you can calibrate a new VTG actuator to your old turbo, where it will learn its position against this calibration bolt. This bolt needs to be threaded through the actuator bracket, otherwise it will bend the bolt and pull the threads out. Once you have this in, you can move on to calibrating it. This is the calibration procedure not only from the technician's point of view, but also what the actuator is doing when you press calibrate. On Davy it asks you if you fitted the calibration bolt, and then you proceed to calibrate the VTG actuator to the turbo. With this bolt now removed and the turbo calibrated, we can carry on and wrap this job up. After this procedure is done, it's a case of refitting the turbo elbow, where you might need to replace some of the bolts due to corrosion, getting the boost pipe and the soundproofing refitted and the cab back down. With the cab down, the coolant can now be put back into the vehicle and bled up. I'd advise clearing the faults as a good housekeeping exercise, as no one likes old DTCs and ECUs. As always, please support the channel and hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.